This is a terrifying story, and I'm sure most of you have never experienced anything like this. But if you have, please share your experience with us in the comments section below, because this is freaking me out. It was just past midnight when I left the diner. The streets nearly deserted, the orange glow of the street lamps painting the cracked sidewalks in patches of light and shadow. And that's when I saw him, the man across the street. He was standing perfectly still, facing me, smiling with a grin that stretched too wide, too sharp, too unnatural. At first I thought maybe he was drunk, maybe just another late-night wanderer. But then he moved, not toward me but in this strange jerky shuffle, like his legs were out of sync with his body. His eyes locked on mine without blinking, that horrible grin never faltering, and I felt my chest tighten as an instinctive dread settled in. The kind of primal fear that makes every nerve in your body scream, run, run now. But I couldn't. My legs felt frozen, and as he staggered forward into the light, I forced myself to move. As he stepped into the pool of light, he became clearer, sharper, and I saw how pale his skin was, how thin his frame, and that smile that was so wide it looked painful, like it was carved into his face. When he reached the pool of light across from me, he stopped again, straightened his posture, tilted his head ever so slightly, and began to sway side to side like a broken puppet. His hands were limp at his sides, his eyes never blinking, and I realized he wasn't drunk. He was deliberate. He was performing as though every movement was some sick routine. I managed to force myself to walk, fast toward home. Behind me, I could hear the echo of his shoes slap against the pavement. Slow at first, but perfectly in rhythm with my own steps. I glanced back only once, and when I did, I saw him keeping pace, not running, not rushing, just following, always at the same distance, always smiling. That smile, oh God, it stretched further the longer I looked. Teeth too many, gums dark and wet, like he wasn't even human, and I ducked into a side street hoping to lose him. But when I turned the corner, he was already there, waiting under the lamp, swaying, grinning, as if he'd been expecting me, as if he knew every step I would take before I took it. I stumbled back, the air sharp in my lungs, before breaking into a full sprint toward my apartment, not daring to glance back again, though I could hear it, the steady dragging sound, like shoes scraping concrete, always behind me, never hurried in. By the time I slammed the door shut behind me and locked every bolt, I thought maybe I was safe, maybe I'd escaped, until I looked out the window and saw him across the street, perfectly still, staring up at my apartment window, smiling so wide his face seemed to split, and I stayed awake the entire night, every hour checking, and he never moved, never left, not even once. And when the sun rose, I thought it was over. I thought the daylight would banish him, but he was still there, still smiling. And when I closed my eyes for just a second, just 1 second of exhaustion, and opened them again, he was gone. And for days I tried to tell myself it was a dream, a trick of my tired mind. Until last night, when I woke at 3:13 a.m. to the sound of footsteps in my apartment. I sat straight up in bed, heart pounding. My apartment is old. The floorboards creak, the pipes groan, but these sounds are familiar, comforting even. They're part of the home I've made here. Footsteps, not water pipes or settling wood, aren't supposed to be here. And yet there they were, slow, deliberate, getting closer. The hair on the back of my neck prickled. Instinctively, I reached for the phone beside my bed, fumbled for the buttons, dialed 911. The operator's voice came through the receiver, calm, reassuring. She asked about the nature of my emergency. My voice caught in my throat. It took several tries to get the words out. Someone was walking in my apartment, I explained. Someone was in my apartment. The footsteps stopped outside my bedroom door. The rhythmic tapping continued for a moment, then silence. I pressed my ear against the cool wood, straining to listen. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. A low growl rumbled in my chest. What was I doing? Of course, no one was in my apartment. The door was locked. I could tell by the feel of the wood beneath my ear that nothing had changed. The footsteps hadn't moved closer, hadn't gotten louder. Still, I didn't answer the phone. I didn't want to speak. I wanted to hear. Silence, then the soft click of the lock being picked. The operator's voice came again through the receiver, this time closer, sharper. She was right outside my door. I waited, holding my breath. The tapping grew louder, insistent. Now it was joined by a scratching sound, as though whoever was out there was trying to claw his way in. My fingers tightened around the receiver, digging into my palm. Finally, the operator spoke again. This time she wasn't asking me questions. She was telling me what to do. "Get out of the house," she said. "Go to a neighbor's apartment. Call me when you get there." I managed to nod, even though she couldn't see me. "Yes, okay," I whispered, my voice hoarse from disuse. I did as she told me, stumbling out of my room, out of my apartment, and down the stairs. When I got to the lobby, I found the front door ajar. I peered out. The street was empty. I turned back, relief flooding me. But then I heard it again, the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, climbing the stairs. I ran, not daring to look back, but somehow knowing that if I did, I would see him keeping pace, always at the same distance, always smiling. Last night, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I knew before I opened my eyes who was out there on the other side of my door. I didn't need the tap 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 of his shoes on my floorboards to tell me that. I felt it in my bones, in the pit of my stomach. And when the footsteps started again, it wasn't the sound that broke through my fear, but the smell, the stench of rot and decay that drifted under my door. I didn't want to open my eyes. I didn't want to see what was out there, but I knew I had to. I knew I had to face whatever was outside my door, whatever was inside my apartment, because I didn't have anywhere else to go. I couldn't keep running, couldn't keep hiding. I had to face my fear, and I did. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was the sliver of moonlight beneath my door, a small opening in the darkness that illuminated just enough of the hallway to show me him, the man in the doorway, grinning. The moonlight glinted off his wet, dark gums, catching the edge of his two sharp teeth. His eyes burned in the gloom, never blinking, never flickering. His grin stretched wider, bearing more teeth, elongating his gums, making his lips disappear. His tongue flicked out between his teeth, and I smelled it again, the fetid reek of death. He took a step forward, then another. He was in my doorway now, silhouetted against the sliver of moonlight, and I could see his chest rise and fall in a parody of human breathing. His hand twitched at his side. I flinched, anticipating a blow, bracing for pain, but it never came. Instead, a raspy voice, like gravel grinding on bone, scraped against my eardrums. "You can't hide forever, little one." Those 3 words hung in the air between us, each syllable dripping with menace. "You can't hide forever." He was right, of course. I knew he was right. There was nowhere left for me to run, nowhere else to hide. But in that moment of defeat, something inside me snapped. I didn't know I had it in me, that kind of strength, that fierce determination to fight back, to defend myself, to survive. So I did. I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, until my voice was hoarse. And when I finally fell silent, when my breath came in ragged gasps, he was gone. The apartment was empty, the door wide open, the moonlight spilling in like liquid silver, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. I didn't wait to find out if he'd come back. I didn't wait to see if he'd kept his promise. I didn't stay to find out if he'd come back later. Because when the sun rose, I thought maybe I was safe, thought the daylight would banish him. But when I looked out my window, he was still there, still smiling, and I realized the truth. You don't see the smiling man once and escape. Once he finds you, he follows you forever, and he never, ever stops smiling. Don't forget to subscribe our channel.